He says to his audience, look, the vast majority of people end up mediocre. They end up trapped in a life of mediocrity they don't like, they don't want, they feel they didn't choose. That's what people end up trapped in. You shouldn't end up trapped in it.
An unfortunate reality in our society is that most people live boring lives. They go through the motions, work jobs they don't like, dread Mondays, look forward to the weekend, and do nothing more than simply exist.
But then what he goes on to describe is the epitome of middle-aged mediocrity.
Yeah.
It's a shitty, mediocre life of resignation with a few comfortable distractions provided by hobbies. Can you even call them passions?
À-bas-le-ciel.
Now, if you're in high school or even college, it may sound like that life's really far off and you won't end up like that, but the reality is most people do. And you need to make sure you avoid it at all costs.
À-bas-le-ciel.
We were just debating how real we were going to keep it in this video. I think on a scale of 1 to 10, we're maybe going to keep it about a 7. I think we are not going to keep it all the way real in this video. This is a touchy subject, man. This is based pawn versus based Zeus. Everybody else is like based God, based Zeus. So I'm going to be based pawn in this debate on the question of how do you find your passion. So we just want to make sure we got the title of his video right. And I notice looking at the thumbnail here, use these 4 steps to find your passion right now. He's got a hoe on a rope. He's got a blonde chick in string bikini bottoms, no top.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing it's maybe like a tire swing. You see what I mean? It's a swing with only a single string. A single string swing. That's what that is. So we're guessing your passion has something to do with riding that big tire hanging from the string.
Warning, this video is not going to be obvious bullshit advice like, just do what you love, bro. It's going to be actual tips you can start using right now to put you closer to finding what you're passionate about.
A lot of people say that's their passion. Travel is their passion.
Oh, I thought you were going to say banging hoes. I thought that was...
Oh, yeah, banging hoes.
Yeah, that's, look, I mean, I think the most fundamental and general problem I have here is that it promises to tell you about finding your passion. And most of the video is actually about what to do once you found it. Which is really a very different thing, and I'm not hating on that. Like obviously you can talk about both, you can talk about neither. But even if we just keep it on that sexual level, look, you're with a middle-aged Jewish intellectual with a big nose. You are pale. What? You want the camera to lie? You want me to do tint adjust? You want me to do? Why did she just set up something? What? You want me to have hashtag no filter? You want me to give you a fake ass tan on the edit? We can do that. We can do a color filter down half the screen. We're about half. And then the shoulder of my shirt will be a different color, but that's okay. Look, when you we're looking ahead of your life, I don't think you started off thinking like if you did follow his advice, you made a list of what you were looking for. You want to be with a middle-aged Jewish intellectual with a big nose who'd studied Cambodia and First Nations, like the things that attracted you to me, like physically, intellectual, or otherwise. I don't think you could have made a list of them. Even after you found out about me, she found me on the internet before she found me in real life. Do you have any idea how many guys there are with like overweight Hispanic women? And if you ask them in high school or in college, what are you looking for in a chick? They would have never said, I'm looking to get with an overweight Hispanic woman. Why? They met an overweight Hispanic woman who had some other redeeming qualities or something else in common. There was something where they got on that wavelength and they fell in love with an overweight Hispanic woman. You know what I'm saying?
Life is unpredictable. You don't know.
Well, yeah, no, and it's specifically in this way. It's about finding your passion. Mm-hmm. Now, you may not believe me. She is incredibly passionate about me. This is not a romance of convenience. It's not like she just shrugged her shoulders and like, well,
guess I'll move to China.
I guess I'll buy an airplane ticket to Da Hong, China on the border with me and just move him, settle for less. No, I mean, this is your dream relationship in a lot of ways. People don't have to believe that. But you didn't even know to dream it first, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, already, I mean, this is really the deepest question, the deepest problem raised with the video, whether we talk about it sexually or in terms of career or in terms of hobbies or other passions or interests. When I was in high school, even when I was in college, there's no way I could have gotten out a pen and paper and wrote down on a list, I want to study Pali. What is Pali? You can search my channel if you want that. Pali. Pali is a language. I'd never heard of it in high school. For most of my first 4 years of university, I'd never heard of it or something. It was right at the end of my time in university, when in a lot of ways it was too late. Well, what had I heard of? Heard of ancient Greek. Already too many white boys in ancient Greek. Just keeping it real. I thought everything that needed to be done had already been done in ancient Greek. It wasn't like someone was going to discover a new book by Aristotle. It wasn't a new book by Plato nobody had translated. I wanted to be on the frontiers of new knowledge. And I thought, in Pali I can do that. So same thing. Cambodia. Got interested in Cambodia. I've had a video here on YouTube talking about first time I ever heard of Cambodia. Reading a comic book when I was maybe 11 years old. I don't know how old I was. I was a kid reading a comic book. How would I have put Cambodia on a list of things I'd be passionate about? Cambodian as a language, or the history, or the politics, or all the anthropological interest, the things that... How can you possibly put that on a list?
I recommend starting by writing down a list of at least 10 things you think you might be interested in, want to try, or things you've already done but never made the time to actually pursue fully. Now, if you can't think of 10 things, start with 5 or 3 or even 1. 1 is greater than 0 is the mentality you should be following here. And this way, at least if you try one thing and you don't like it, then you've successfully crossed off one potential passion, and you're one step closer to finding what you actually like.
So this advice, I think, is really fundamentally wrong. They're really putting the cart before the horse. And when he gives you his example list, so list 10 things. I know he's half joking, but he gives a list. He says, meet base Zeus, IRL, fuck a MILF, build a nice body, drag racing, travel, start a YouTube channel, fuck a Victoria's Secret model. Okay, so why would it be fucking a Victoria's Secret model?
Why would you be passionate about that?
I think it's just because it's the most readily available information. If you're growing up, presumably this is pitched to a male audience. Okay, like I think the Victoria's Secret model kit, I think it's given away for free. People get it in the mail and shit. Mm-hmm. I don't even think you buy it. I don't know. I don't even think you buy it, right? It's advertising, right? So these are some of the most widely available images of women in the world. You really think that's your type? Really? Really? Maybe you aren't going to know. Like if you're not super sexually experienced in your 20s, I think a lot of guys won't know their type. Maybe they'll know at 25 or 26. You don't know. Maybe what you're into is fat Latina women. I imagine last time I was in San Francisco, I met some overweight Latina women who are attractive as hell. Like I'm really not saying, like I've met gorgeous overweight Latino, but that's not what you see in Victoria's Secret. It's not what you see in the magazines. You see it once in a while in a rap video, once in a while, depending what kind of rap music you're into. You know what I mean? But like that's not even like a small minority of men who are into overweight women. It's not at all. You know what I mean? So this is a really obvious, really down to earth example, just about sex. But I mean, okay, travel. So where are you gonna go? Where are you gonna go, homie? What do you? It's gonna be this same shit. I don't know what Machu Picchu. What have you seen on the cover of Time Life magazine? Like, how would you even know where to go? This is about what you're passionate about. How would you discover a place that's really meaningful for you to go? You throw a dart at the map? So what? You've heard of the pyramids in Egypt. Is that meaningful for you? Is it something being meaningful in general? What is travel going to mean to you? Anybody can buy an airplane ticket, homie. But to have a passion, to have a meaningful engagement with the place where you learn and you grow. And like, the other thing I said to you right off the bat looking at this. So, I mean, my girl's 24. I'm 39. Nobody wears the pants in a relationship. It's working out great, you know? But look, so you're 24. If you made a list like this when you were just, 18. 18's not that long ago for you. Mm-hmm. I think today you'd look at that list and laugh, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And on the other hand, since she got with me, like in terms of travel, which is a shallow thing, you come to China, come to the edge of Myanmar. We've gone to Thailand. You've gone to the south of France.
I can assure you I never would have gone to those places had I not met you. And
we're going back to Thailand in a month too. But you've done this stuff and you have some kind of meaningful engagement with it.
Yeah, definitely.
You would have never put that on a list when you were 18 years old.
It's meaningful to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
In many ways, not just because I met you, just like
sure.
After coming here and being here, this is probably the most interesting thing I've ever done in my life, and
you've got a connection, and you're learning and growing and changing as a person.
Yeah, right.
At 18, making a list of 10 things. No way you could have put that on there, right?
No.
And, I think...
I might have said, travel to Europe. I think
Right.
that's on a lot of people's bucket list. I mean, I had
You could list all the continents if you're keeping it that vague. Europe, Africa, Asia, maybe fit in Antarctica in between, but this is a little vague. But no, you both couldn't have put Thailand on a list, and you couldn't have put what was meaningful about it. And like some of the things that are meaningful about Thailand are negative, like just going there and thinking about poverty, thinking about politics and democracy and dictatorship and
prostitution.
And the hose on the curb, man.
Yeah.
Whew,
that was kind of life-changing for me.
Oh, really?
Life altering, yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. I've never heard you say that because I know at the time you were freaked out.
But
I was like, look, I want you to see the reality. Like I don't want to just take you to the fucking zoo and see, the animals behind bars. Like, I want you to see some of the reality of what modern Thailand is. And what, there's more than two sides to the coin, but this side of the coin. Wow. No, that's...
Yeah, no, I was just telling my sister-in-law about it when I was visiting for my brother's wedding.
Yeah.
I was just talking about going to Thailand and how it kind of changed my perspective on sex workers and just generally that type of industry. I mean... and, like, sex tourism.
Right.
This is like... I had never even thought about it.
How you think about economics and politics and history is going to change with the more kind of case studies you can work with.
Yeah.
And like just within the last couple of weeks, we talk about politics different kinds. We talk about Iraq, Iran. We talk about various wars. We talk about history of European colonialism. Just different stuff comes up. Mm-hmm. But like even then, knowing, hey, you know what? Thailand, they're actually an example of a country that was never colonized by Europeans. You know what? They were never conquered by the British Empire, the French Empire. So they're actually a little bit different, the way they entered into these things. And just knowing, like, oh, yeah, I know what contrasting example. Like, most countries are homophobic as hell. Thailand's a real contrast to that. They've never been homophobic. They're ridiculously accepting, not just gays, but transsexuals. Yes. And you see that in the streets, too. Mm-hmm. And even for us, we're pro-gay rights, but it can be a little bit shocking.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you see that coming out the alleys at you, there was that barbershop, coming out the barbershop at you and stuff, It can be a little unexpected, a little bit jarring, but you realize, whoa, I come from a country where actually we don't think gays are in the closet, but compared to Thailand, it's not nearly as in your face. So, just having access to those cultural contrasts, what it's going to mean for you. But we aren't even talking about passions yet. I mean, that's the other thing that fucks me up about this video, right? Is, okay, he opens with a strong suit. He plays a strong card. He says to his audience, look, the vast majority of people end up mediocre. They end up trapped in a life of mediocrity. They don't like, they don't want, they feel they didn't choose. That's what people end up trapped in. You shouldn't end up trapped in it. But then what he goes on to describe is the epitome of middle-aged mediocrity.
Yeah.
It's a shitty, mediocre life of resignation with a few comfortable distractions provided by hobbies. Can you even call them passions? Is that even really your passion, bro? Okay, yeah, you do boxing.
Yeah.
You meditate for 20 minutes.
His passions are all about self-indulgence.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Can you really call playing video games your passion? I don't know. I mean.
Look, I mean, I remember hearing a radio interview about a guy who was, passionate about lawnmowers, and he did have some kind of mental disability. I'm sorry, I forget which one. But, the guy was a little bit obsessive and a little bit weird. And, he was so into lawnmowers, he could identify the manufacturer and the year of manufacture from the sound of the lawnmower wrench. They have different types of hums and stuff. There's a YouTube channel from a guy, I've never looked at it even. Again, I heard about it on Canadian radio. He's passionate about elevators, and he's devoted his life to, he flies around the world visiting different kinds of, this shit exists.
The Mr. Rogers episode about elevators.
Yeah. But look,
that was the most passionate I've ever seen somebody about elevators, the Mr. Rogers episode.
This shit exists.
Yeah.
But we're giving advice to young men who are trying to fuck Victoria's Secret models.
Yeah.
That's not going to work for you, and it's not going to work for the hoe on a rope you're chasing over. I don't think so. I don't think so. Drag racing, travel, look, I mean, different tricks for different chicks, no question. But I mean, none of this, there's no sense of doing something for other people. Yeah. There's no sense of doing something to make the world a better place or just a different place. you know? And
really good point. It's all about himself, about improving himself, and he sees it as improvement. And you just made a comment.
He sees it as improvement, but even that's like, okay, drag racing is self-improvement. Like photography is self-improvement. Even that is questionable. It's pretty much on the line. But
right. You made a comment that he said all progress is positive.
Yes, that's
all progress is good, and it's I agree. I don't see that as being true at all. Like, you can progress in something and realize it's not what you actually want to do. I think people do spend time and effort into a hobby, and then they realize I spent a lot of time doing this and I'm just not into it anymore.
But the classic example has got to be men in sports, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's fundamentally, but your point here, this is really shallow, terrible advice, even if it's just for that reason. That no, not all progress is good progress. Some progress leaves you with terrible pangs of regret, shadow of regret hanging over you for the rest of your life. That's really worth knowing and really worth thinking about. But like all the dudes, so I'm originally from Southern Ontario, Canada. All the dudes who did Little League hockey, who did lower league hockey, and a lot of those good dudes got on drugs. A lot of them got on alcohol. A lot of them got blowjobs from girls in small town Ontario where they played They're all their early sexual experiences were because they were in this minor league hockey shit, going from town to town and probably listening to a lot of really bad country music and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Vegan Gains himself, right? He's got a skull injury. He's got a knee injury. He's seriously disabled for life. Sorry, Richard Vegan Gains. We know each other. We're not close friends, but still, I'm just saying this isn't like a complete stranger, But, Richard, he's a guy, I think he's left with really serious regrets, including the impact ice hockey had on his own relationship with his father and his mom, and his impact on his education in those years of his life. But, I mean, sports is a huge one, where, you can make progress, and then you look back on it. I met a guy who did that with tennis, where he went through the league tennis. And it was he talked me through just how many hours per day it was. I met one guy who did that with Major League Baseball.
About that with martial arts.
Yeah,
somebody that spends so much time in martial arts.
At least with martial arts, you can punch a wall or something. I mean, most of the skills you build up with tennis are fucking useless, right? When outside of a tennis arena do you use tennis? I mean, martial arts has some but sure, no, it's true. It's true with people who devote a lot of time to martial arts. But yeah, I met one guy. He worked with me at Starbucks. So when I worked at Starbucks, this guy he was in the major league pitching thing. So he went to pitching camp. He never played on a major league team, but he lost years of his life throwing a ball as fast as possible, as accurately as possible, and now he works with me at Starbucks. You know what I mean?
That's not even
nice to have you on the team, champ.
Yeah. Like if the intention is self-improvement, then that's not even that great of exercise for you. Like I can see people devoting their time to exercise and fitness because they want to improve their health. But playing
that makes it so much deeper already. Because when I was just talking about the sports, all I was talking about was pursuing a passion, making progress, and then having regret. But actually, when you bring the question of self-improvement into it, it gets way deeper and way harder to deal with, right? Yeah, but I happen to know someone I used to be married to who got a PhD from Cambridge University and regrets it and is miserable about it. Now, I think anyone would say, getting a PhD from Cambridge University, that's that's personal progress, self-improvement. It's not like just learning to throw a baseball hundreds and hundreds of times, doing baseball practice. It's different.
Potential for improving other people's lives.
I personally have known quite a few different people who got a PhD and deeply regretted it and wished they'd never done it and saw all the negative impacts in their life. Now, sorry, I mean, but that's deep. Even when there's personal progress, even when you get laid, or even any of these things will get you laid, guys. And fucking any. little slip there. Perhaps saying what that was. But any of these activities, if you're excellent at them, if it's not video games, if it's about helping other people or making the world a better place or anything like that.
Yeah. Do you see anything about volunteering? Going to a soup kitchen?
No.
Is it possible that that's your passion?
Well,
and doing something positive for other people.
But none of them are based on understanding either, right?
Yeah.
I knew a story of a guy. This is a real historical story. He was Hungarian, and he started off with the idea that maybe the origin of the Hungarian people and the Hungarian language was in Tibet. Stupid idea. He walked from Hungary to Tibet, And he taught himself Tibetan, and then that wasn't enough. He taught himself Sanskrit. He completely devoted his life to learning. And, the description of how this guy lives, he was a white guy from Hungary. And, of course, he learned English also, which was easy for him, but it's not easy, He learned all these languages. He did all these scholarship. And, he worked at a particular library where one of the things he was known for was he would lock himself into the booth where he studied. He would take the key and he would hand it through the bars, the window had bars, to the librarian, and would say, "Okay, come back in 12 hours." And he would pee in a pot, So he had doing those long hours on Sanskrit and Tibetan. So there are guys. I mean, this is Buddhist studies, but he was a secular scholar. He wasn't a Buddhist monk. He was just a really devoted scholar. There are people who are devoted to understanding, and you can ask, is this self-centered? Like, was he trying to make the world a better place? Was it about other people? Was it in some cases, being devoted to your own understanding, to your own knowledge, it is self-centered. I mean, that guy's an extreme example, I think, in a lot of ways. It's not connected to anything social or political or making any kind of change for anyone else, but at least is devoted to the pursuit of excellence, the pursuit of excellence in a field of understanding, a field of learning, you know what I mean?
Right. Every field needs their experts, and if he was going to be an expert in that field, then just trying to think of some positive for just other people that would be studying, he would be an important person.
The fundamental puzzle this video from Zeus is supposed to address is finding your passion when you don't know what it is. Mm-hmm. The other 3 of the 4 points are really easy. Once you know what your passion is, what do you do about it? I don't think his advice is that great, but whatever. That's really easy, and that's really a separate... if you know you want to learn Sanskrit, maybe you go to the library and you lock yourself in the fucking cell and you pee in a bucket. Maybe that's the best... You know what I mean? How far you want to take it, what methods you want to use to teach yourself Sanskrit, that's another question. But how would you even know? So this kid grew up in Hungary. He was so ignorant, he thought Hungarian people originated in Tibet, and he decided to walk there. True story, how do you get to that stage? It cannot possibly be by making a list of 10 things you want to do. And I was saying before, if you had a list of things you made when you were 18, you would look back at it now and laugh. If I had a list of the things, I was actually a pretty profound and morose 18-year-old, so 18 is too late. I'd have to be 16 or something. I would have had to make the list at 16. Because at 18, I was already there is no list. I'd rebel against the question at 18. I'd be too morose and dejected already.
Yeah, but I will just say, hobbies can be self-destructive. The more you get involved in them, and the more time you devote to them,
they can be totally self-destructive. Yeah. And you can be blind. You can be snowblind to how destructive they are and how you're wasting your life and losing your potential. But even when they're not destructive, you can regret them.
Yeah.
You can be left with a lifetime of regret. Yeah. Now look, we all grew a lot. We all changed a lot in terms of our horizon between age 18 and age 28. She ain't made 28 yet. Mm-hmm. But I'd like to think that even today at age 39, if I made a list of these things, that I would look back on that and laugh 10 years later, 20 years later. If I look back on that at 59, I'd think, wow, so that's who I was then. And this is fundamentally the wrong answer to this question. I feel, okay, this video is long enough already. I think I could make 3 more videos on this question, though. But really, the advice about how to find your passion, dude, you have to start with a really profound acknowledgement that you don't know. You don't even know what kind of women are your type yet. You don't even know what your passion is in that case. You may think it's this chick you see in the thumbnail of the Zeus video, the hoe on a rope, because that's the most accessible beauty standard to you. You may think that's what you want, and you may make terrible sacrifices to get it. And, the intangible things are always more important, having something in common with, the person you love. You can love someone you got nothing in common with. That's the most common story in the world. You can love someone and have great sex, and when you turn over in the morning, there ain't a goddamn word you have to say to them. You know what I mean? That's a slow burn tragedy, man. You can ride that out. And it's how many years of your life you're going to waste before you break up with this person, man. There's the whole range. But sure, you can be in a relationship with someone who's conventionally attractive and you can't stand the sound of their voice. You can't stand the fact that they voted for Donald Trump, whatever. There's so much more to this. But even on that shallowest level, you're going to find yourself attracted to people you never thought you'd be attracted to. And you're going to find yourself falling in love with people you never thought you'd fall in love with. And you're going to find your passions, whether it's in terms of research or career or humanitarian work or your interests, or even within a bullshit category like travel. It's going to be things and topics you could not have possibly heard of yet.
À-bas-le-ciel.